Okay, so I've read the instructions regarding making the arms, and I've had a bit of a kip, and this is day 2. So I've milled to the basic dimensions, but the instructions suggest you do a bit more milling on the shape and start cutting through or drilling through here on the bases. I'm not going to do that. So I've decided to concentrate first of all on drilling these holes here. Okay, so I've decided to drill the arms as pairs. So this hole here will be for the pivot pin. Now I'll centre drill it, then I'll drill to 4mm, then 5mm, and then 6mm, and then I'll ream it. Now these holes here, these need to be drilled to 5mm, which will later be tapped to M6 to hold the knurls. So what I'll do here is I'll centre drill, then drill to 4mm, and then drill to 5mm. Okay, so this is the 1/4 inch reamer running at about 450 RPM. Okay, looking good so far. Okay, and this is the final drilling of the 5mm hole. It's worth noting that throughout all of this process the X and Y axes were locked down. Well, that seemed to go okay. The only slight problem is I've lost a lot of the Sharpie pen, so in future I probably need to invest in some proper marking out fluid. But anyway, now I'll concentrate on milling some of the bottom off and doing some rounding off on these corners here and making the arm come down a little bit. So let's see how we get on. Well, I decided to bite the bullet, so I've bought some Dicam. So I'm just going to have a go at milling this arm into shape. This is a 16mm end mill, and I think it's a 6 flute, and I'll be running it round about 600 RPM. Okay, I saw a video on YouTube recently and it showed you how to put a radius on around a hole. So I'm going to try and follow the same sort of principle really. So I've put the steel rod through the hole, and that's flat on the vise, and I've worked out the depth I need to go to. So the idea will be to back that off, I think. And then just move it round slightly and give it a cut. Ooh. That didn't work very well. So that's the sort of theory. It's a shame I took a chunk out of it, but I'll carry on this basis. Well, the radius cutting didn't really go to plan, and I ended up going back to the good old-fashioned file. So it's not too bad. I've got the rough shape I was after, so I'll now do the other arm. So the next stage is to try and drill a 1/4 inch wide slot, and the slot has got to be around about 1.5 centimetres, and it tapers out slightly by 10 degrees to the bottom. So the way I thought I'd try and do this is use a normal drill first. And now I've not got a 1/4 inch drill bit. I don't think the 1/4 inch is critical, so I'm going to go up to 6.5 millimeters, which is just over a quarter. So I've already drilled a centre, and I'll drill the sides, starting at probably 5 millimeters, go up to 6 and then 6.5. So let's see how we get on. Well, that's not worked out very well, to be honest. The drill bit is wandering off centre, which I thought it might do. I could do with a stubby drill, but I've not got any. And so you can see there it's just moving to the centre. So I think what I'm going to have to do is mill it. So I've got a 6mm end mill, so I'll try and do a plunge cut, see if that works. So this is running at about 1500 RPM. Well, that worked out very well actually. Quite happy with that. It's just slightly over 1/4 of an inch. So brilliant so far. So what I need to do is to switch this round and then go in 10-degree angles each side from the other side. Okay, so it's tilted at 10 degrees. And I'm just going to cut in from this side, and then I'll switch it the other way and cut in from that side. Okay, so it took a while, but I got there in the end. So very happy with the result. And that can go in at an angle. So I just need to do the other one now. Okay, so on this arm I've approached it a little bit differently. Rather than drilling a 6.5mm hole in the middle, I've drilled 2 on the outside edges. So now I'll use the 6mm end mill to clear that out. Well, I've unfortunately come unstuck now, because the next stage is to cut a recess in the arms to accept sort of silver steel rockers. This will be cut down, so that will sort of like rock in there. Now, I'd bought a little mini fly cutter from Arc the other day, actually. Never used it, and I've just put it together, and both these little screws have sheared. Quite annoying, really. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, the knurling wheels have arrived, so I'm going to try using this slitting saw to cut the grooves in the arms. Now, I've never used this before, so it should be interesting, and I'll run it at about 150 RPM. Speed it up a bit. Well, this is taking forever. It's running at 250 RPM. And this is the removal of the piece in the middle. Well, that went very well. The slitting saw was very easy to use, which was a surprise. It's 60mm in diameter, and I ran it at 250 RPM, and the feed, I think I was feeding it only about a thousandth of an inch a second, so it took a while, but we got there in the end. I'm really happy with the result. Obviously I need to make the pins to keep the knurls in place, but yeah, very happy so far. Well, I must say that's been quite eventful so far, and if anybody's any help and advice they can give me about how to cut this recess for this rocker, I would really appreciate it. I think the diameter of that is about 7/8 of an inch, so less than an inch, and the instructions suggest a fly cutter. Obviously the fly cutter I got wasn't up to much, so I'm not too sure whether or not there's some better ones out there, but like I say, if anybody's got any advice on how to do this, I would really appreciate it. In the meantime, I'll do a bit of research on the internet, and I'll get this video up, and it looks like we're into a part 3. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.